Nothing is truer than truth. This documentary film fearlessly dives into one of literature's most enduring and heated debates, a question that has captivated scholars and enthusiasts alike for generations. At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental question: who really wrote Shakespeare's plays? Was it the man from Stratford-upon-Avon, or was there another hand, another mind, behind the immortal words? The film champions the Oxfordian theory, a compelling alternative to the traditional authorship. It presents a well-researched argument, suggesting that Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, a nobleman of considerable intellect and artistic sensibility, was the true author. The film meticulously builds its case, arguing that de Vere was the true author behind the name Shakespeare, a literary mask concealing a noble identity. This isn't merely wild speculation or fanciful conjecture. Instead, the documentary embarks on a rigorous investigation, following a trail of historical and biographical clues, meticulously piecing together evidence from a variety of sources. It's an invitation to re-examine long-held beliefs, inviting viewers to question the familiar story and consider a different perspective on literary history. It challenges the conventional narrative, questioning the idea that a Glover's son from Stratford, with limited access to the upper echelons of society, could possess the deep and intimate knowledge of court life, intricate legal matters, and the nuances of foreign lands so vividly found in the plays attributed to Shakespeare. Instead, with compelling evidence, it points to de Vere. It highlights a man whose privileged, often tumultuous life, filled with both triumphs and tragedies, closely mirrors the dramatic narratives and comedic situations attributed to Shakespeare. The film's very title, cleverly taken from the de Vere family motto, "Nothing is truer than truth," boldly signals its clear and unwavering perspective on this complex issue. Ultimately, this is a passionate and meticulously researched argument presented in favor of the Oxfordian case. Throughout the film, the filmmakers act as historical detectives, carefully examining the evidence. They undertake the challenging task of piecing together a complex puzzle, with pieces scattered across centuries of historical documents and literary analysis. To understand the context, they meticulously set the stage in Elizabethan England. They explore a time where an earl writing for the public stage, engaging in such a populist endeavor, would have risked significant scandal and social disgrace. Therefore, the documentary posits that de Vere strategically used the pseudonym Shakespeare. This was a calculated move to protect his aristocratic identity and reputation, all while sharing his unparalleled literary genius with the world. This central premise, the idea of a hidden author, forms the very foundation for the film's bold and undeniably controversial case, igniting a fresh perspective on a long-standing literary controversy. At the heart of the film, we delve into the life of a figure shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Is Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford? He was a brilliant, complex aristocrat, a man of immense talent and deep contradictions. Raised among England's elite, within the opulent circles of the Tudor court, de Vere received a world-class education, one that shaped his intellect and worldview. He was fluent in languages, mastering Latin, French, and Italian, immersed in the arts, from painting and sculpture to music and dance, and adept at courtly pursuits, including horsemanship, fencing, and diplomacy. The documentary argues, through meticulous research and compelling evidence, that this unparalleled background explains the sophisticated knowledge, the breadth of understanding, woven throughout the Shakespearean canon, a tapestry of wisdom and insight. De Vere was celebrated in his own time, recognized by his contemporaries, as a poet and playwright, a creator of verses and dramas, not just a patron of the arts, but an active participant in its creation. His dramatic personal life, marked by political intrigue, the treacherous currents of the court, scandal, whispers and rumors that threatened his reputation, and emotional turmoil, a roller coaster of passions and despair, echoes the themes of the plays, resonating within the very fabric of Shakespeare's works. The film draws direct parallels, highlighting striking similarities between de Vere's experiences and Shakespeare's characters, their struggles and triumphs, suggesting the works are deeply autobiographical, a reflection of the author's own soul. De Vere's dual nature, warrior and artist, a man of action and a man of contemplation, mirrors the complexity of Shakespeare's protagonists, their inner conflicts and moral dilemmas. The documentary paints him as the Renaissance ideal, a true polymath, uniquely qualified to create works of such psychological depth exploring the human condition with unparalleled insight. In short, De Vere's life, education, and temperament, the very essence of his being, make him a compelling candidate for the true author of the Shakespearean works, a figure worthy of serious consideration. One of the film's strongest arguments is De Vere's extensive tour of Italy. The play's Italian settings and cultural details, the documentary claims, reflect first-hand experience rather than book learning. De Vere's travels through Venice, Verona, and Padua are meticulously chronicled, matching the geography and customs found in the plays. The filmmakers visit these locations, visually connecting De Vere's journey to Shakespeare's worlds. The film highlights De Vere's exposure to Italian theater, art, and music, arguing these influences shaped the comedies and tragedies. The documentary contends that only someone who had truly immersed himself in Renaissance Italy could have written with such authenticity. This Italian connection, it argues, is a key piece of evidence for the Oxfordian theory. The richness of the play's Italian texture, the film concludes, could only come from lived experience. The film uses literary forensics to map De Vere's life onto the Shakespearean plays. Characters like Polonius and Hamlet are seen as satirical portraits of real figures in De Vere's life, such as his father-in-law, William Cecil. Themes of exile, betrayal, and lost reputation mirror De Vere's own fall from grace and personal crises. Financial ruin, a recurring motif in the plays and sonnets, reflects De Vere's lifelong struggles with debt. The documentary suggests the plays are not just fiction, but veiled autobiography. De Vere processing his own trauma through art. Even his relationship with Queen Elizabeth is explored as inspiration for Shakespeare's powerful female characters. The film argues that only someone with De Vere's intimate court experience could have captured such nuanced personalities. In this reading, the plays become a window into De Vere's soul. Nothing is truer than truth is more than an academic argument, it's a visual journey. The filmmakers transport viewers to Italy, grounding their case in real locations that inspired the plays. Renaissance art, architecture, and music are woven throughout, illustrating the cultural world that shaped the author. Historical documents and animated maps bring the past to life, making complex evidence accessible and engaging. Expert interviews are filmed on location, adding immediacy and authority. This dynamic approach transforms abstract theories into tangible experiences. The film layers travel, art, and history to build a persuasive, immersive case for De Vere. Each element reinforces the others, creating a holistic portrait of the true Shakespeare. The documentary appeals to both intellect and senses, inviting viewers to join the discovery. It's a detective story that makes history feel alive and urgent. To understand the Oxfordian case, we must first establish the prevailing viewpoint. The film contrasts the Oxfordian theory with the traditional story of Shakespeare of Stratford-upon-Avon, a narrative deeply embedded in our cultural understanding. The orthodox view, championed by many scholars and institutions, holds that William Shakespeare, born the son of a glover in Stratford, received a grammar school education, providing him with a foundation in language and literature. From these relatively humble beginnings, he rose to fame and fortune in London's burgeoning theatre world. His name prominently appears on the title pages of published plays and poems during his lifetime, solidifying his authorship in the public eye. Furthermore, he was not just a playwright, but also a shareholder and key figure in the Lord Chamberlain's Men, a prominent acting company of the time. Supporters of this traditional view argue that genius is not confined to the elite, and can indeed emerge from humble origins, blossoming in unexpected places. They maintain that Shakespeare's unparalleled imagination, keen observational skills, and mastery of language are sufficient to explain his vast knowledge of diverse subjects, from law and medicine to history and mythology. They also emphasize that London's vibrant and dynamic culture during the Elizabethan era exposed him to a wide range of people, social classes, and intellectual currents, providing ample material for his plays and poems, thus fueling his boundless creativity and shaping his unique perspective. The collaborative nature of Elizabethan theatre is also emphasized by Stratfordians. The understanding is that Shakespeare wrote for a specific company, tailoring his plays to their strengths and the tastes of the audience, constantly revising and adapting his work as needed based on audience reaction and theatrical constraints. Furthermore, financial and legal records from the period show him as a successful businessman, investing in property and engaging in various commercial ventures. For Stratfordians, the simplest and most logical explanation, supported by a wealth of evidence, is that the man named William Shakespeare on the plays and poems was indeed their true author, a testament to his genius and hard work. The film presents this traditional narrative as the mainstream, widely accepted view, a well-documented narrative supported by historical records and academic consensus. The documentary's impact comes from its stark comparison of Oxford and Stratford. De Vere is portrayed as a worldly, educated aristocrat whose life matches the play's content. His poetry and experiences align with the Shakespearean voice. In contrast, the film paints Shakespeare of Stratford as a biographical mystery. No letters, no manuscripts, only a handful of signatures. It questions how someone with limited education could write with such sophistication. The timeline issue, De Vere's death in 1604 before some plays were written, is addressed by challenging the conventional dating. The film suggests De Vere wrote the canon before his death, with plays released posthumously. Ultimately, viewers are asked to choose between two narratives: miraculous genius from obscurity or art born from lived experience and privilege. The documentary clearly favors the Oxfordian story. The film acknowledges strong counter-arguments from mainstream scholars. The main objection: if De Vere was the true author, why did no one say so at the time? All contemporary evidence, tributes, records, and the First Folio point to Shakespeare of Stratford. Ben Jonson's praise of the Swan of Avon is cited as direct testimony. The Oxfordian theory requires interpreting these references as part of a cover-up, which many find implausible. The dating of the plays after De Vere's death is another major hurdle, especially with works like The Tempest. Historians also note that some noblemen did publish under their own names, challenging the idea that De Vere had to hide. Mainstream scholars argue the simplest answer is usually correct: Shakespeare wrote the plays. Why does the Shakespeare authorship debate endure? The mystery itself is irresistible, a historical puzzle with clues, conspiracies, and colorful characters. The debate invites us to question how genius is formed. Is it raw talent or the product of experience and suffering? The Oxfordian theory appeals to those who want a tangible link between life and art. It's also an underdog story, challenging academic orthodoxy and inviting skepticism of official narratives. The documentary frames its proponents as truth seekers battling the establishment. Ultimately, the debate enriches our engagement with the plays and their era. It encourages us to read with fresh eyes, searching for hidden connections. Whether you side with Stratford or Oxford, the quest itself keeps Shakespeare's works alive and relevant. The controversy ensures the bard remains endlessly fascinating, a living mystery for every generation.